Alright, so today's video we're going to talk about the perks waiting thing. Bungie's now confirmed there seems to be a problem. We'll read the tweet in a second, but if you're not aware, the new weapons and a few of the older weapons, as well as the for the season and the dungeon, as well as some older ones from a couple other seasons, it appears are heavily weighted against you, which according to Bungie was not intentional. They made a comment a few days ago saying that it's not a thing in the game, but several people made programs as well as tested a whole bunch of different ways and have substantial evidence that proves there is some sort of perk weighting, whether it's intentional or not. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, let's talk about what Bungie finally has to say about it. Regarding further reports of perk weighting, while we have confirmed that there is no intentional perk weighting on weapons within our content setup, we are now investigating a potential issue within our code for how RNG perks are generated. Many thanks to all players who have been contributing to data collection across the community. This data has been momentively, English today, helpful with our investigation, and we are currently working on internal simulations to confirm your findings. We will provide more information as soon as it is available. So, Bungie still denies it's intentional, which, you know what, I see both sides of the argument. If you're not aware, some people are saying it's been intentional. It's been a while like that for a while. Bungie's doing it intentionally to get the player numbers up, which is actually a valid point. If you don't know, Destiny player numbers are very low, extremely low compared to what they've been in the past. Even with a new update that came out, they were still extremely low, and they're still staying pretty damn low, which is bad for the game, especially because this is Bungie's main moneymaker, so kind of problematic. The game is, at least not this DLC, but the game is as a whole. Marathon is still not going to come out until either, was it next year, later this year, or early next year? I don't remember. It's still a while away, at least. So, intentionally changing the perk weighting, knowing people are going to go after certain perk combos, making it harder to get, logically would be the best step for Bungie to do. People do argue, though, against that, saying the reason that's not true is because it's easy to track, and why wouldn't they just come out and say they did it? Well, because people have hated that forever. That is like the number one thing people have always talked about they never want to see in Destiny, is perk weighting. Personally, I don't think it's that big of a deal. The reason why I don't think that's because there's a lot of games that exist that have perk-type systems that are RNG-based, that have weighting towards one set of perks versus others to make it harder to get. Those games are farmed like crazy, played like crazy, and there's no issue with it. Is it the best system? No. Is it that big of a deal? No. As long as it's not heavily weighted against you, it's not that big of a deal. For those that grind like crazy, you can get the God roll. For those that don't grind like crazy, you can get a decent roll. That's how other games do it. Now, Destiny could do the same thing. But because people have always said they hated that and they like that Destiny doesn't do that, that's what makes this game better. So, you would think logically Bungie wouldn't do it. But Bungie wouldn't do a lot of things, we think, as well as increasing our power level 10 levels, after they said they would never do that again. That were their words. They noticed the community hated adding 10 levels every season, and they said they were no longer going to continue it. And what do we get? They've continued it. Because that is what the strategy is try to get people to come and play, and actually have to play longer just to do it. But sadly, the 10 levels still mean nothing, so it didn't really bring anyone back because it's not going to, and plus people didn't want it, so you say you're going to get that to the community, and people are going to be like, okay, well, we definitely don't want to play this season. Fuck that. So that's a loss right off the bat. So then you see the perk weighting things. Well, obviously you jump to the conclusion, they're obviously trying to get people to play their game. People are going to want these new weapons, even those that don't play that much will be like, okay, we really want these weapons. And they're going to go in expecting to get it relatively quick, and then all of a sudden, it takes a lot of effort to farm. And you're like, okay, something's wrong here. So, yeah. Both sides of the argument make sense. Why would Bungie do it? Why would they do it when we easily can track it because of LightGG's tracking system? But at the same time, that's not entirely true. The community have missed things in the past that were bugs for years. There were bugs that have been around for a long time a lot of people didn't know about. So a lot of people could have known about this being a thing for a while and could have known about it, but not everyone would have talked about it. The only reason it became a problem is when they brought out this new grenade launcher that was a rapid fire, that's Envious Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch. And a lot of PvE players are going to want that. It also had Cascade Point and Bait and Switch. A lot of PvE players are going to want that. So, A lot of other weapons have came out this season. Nobody really cared about it. Some people always say, as always, it seems to be weighed against you, but no one really does a lot of math. There's a few people who do a little bit to show there's definitely some going on, but it's never been this big of a thing. So because it's been this big of a thing, people have now found that the seasonal weapons as well as the dungeon weapons are weighted. Whether it's intentional or not, it is facts. So it's weighted against you, really badly weighted against you too. So logically speaking, yeah, it makes sense if Bungie did it on purpose in the background. And for those that are saying, well, these guys are saying on Twitter, one, they're not going to admit to it if they know people hate it, because a lot of people are saying hate about it. So they're sure as hell not going to admit it, because that's bad for their thing. They're going to act like it's a bug if it is truly intentional. Second, a lot of the teams don't communicate worth a shit inside Bungie. We know that because we've seen that for years, as well as communication from the devs saying they don't get to talk to each other very well. The communication between the different teams is very bad. Hence why we get a lot of weird content sometimes, and glitches and bugs and strange things. So, in theory, one team could have secretly done this in the background, or one person, and most people would have never known about it that worked at Bungie. So, the truth is, it could have been one guy doing it, or a group of people doing it, that were told to do it either by the higher-ups because they're upset about it, which would not be past the higher-ups because we know they're crooked fucks. We've seen it constantly. We see they don't give a shit about the game, only care about making money, but they have to learn that they're going to have to give a shit about the game to make money, because otherwise they're going to go planting down, which is what we're seeing now, is the community dying crazy fast, and it's going to become a problem. It is depressing, it is true, but it's the reality we live in now for this game. So, is it possible that the higher-ups hired some people or paid some people off to wait the things and keep it in the background and keep quiet about it? Yeah, that's a conspiracy theory going around right now, and I say, yeah, that's possible. There's a lot of plausible knowledge about what's going on with the game right now that would back that up. Now, is it truly that way? Is it truly some sort of bug? I personally don't see how it could be a bug. Because if, according to old devs that were fired and stuff, they said Bungie doesn't have the capability of doing that. That is words from people that were laid off from Bungie that no longer work there. They say that. One of two things that means. They either were paid to do it a long time ago and they have to keep their mouth shut, or defend that there is none through a contract they've signed so they don't get in trouble, which I don't really feel would be that meaningful at that point. I don't think any of them would really keep to that at that point, especially if they were laid off. They'd probably be pissed. It'd be logical. They would either lie or tell the truth if there is truth to it. So I don't really know that section. So the facts is, to me, is, yeah, at one point Bungie didn't have that option or had the ability to do it. But I don't know how a game can be around this long and not have the ability. If you can put RNG on things, how do you not put RNG on perks and then literally just dial down the percentage? Because you have to put a percent to the perk combos, or just the perks in general. So if you just happen to lower a few perk combos, or just perks in general, then indirectly it'd make the perk combos rarer. So I don't really understand why people don't think that's possible. They have to put a percentage to the perk to begin with. Even if they all have the same percent of perk chance, all it takes is that 1%, that one perk, somebody dials it down a bit, and now it becomes really rare, and they dial down the other perk that everyone wants, and now you've got a very rare gun. Not technically weighting, because it's not weighted against the combo itself, it's weighted against the percentage of it dropping. So it's not a combo weight, it's an individual weight, which would then indirectly create a combo weight against you, because it's such a rare perk. So somebody could easily just dial those down, been paid to, or just did it to be funny or whatever, or maybe it was purely an accident. But that's about the only way it really could be an accident, is when they were typing in the percentages for each of the perks to drop, which should be even across the board. They should all be the same percent. They accidentally dialed one down, but you would have had to dial it down extremely low. We're talking, instead of like, what is it, 16%? Chance or whatever the fuck it is. I don't remember. There's like maybe 20. No, it's not 20%. It's less, right? It's like a 10%. Maybe it's 10%. No, it'd be less than that, or it'd be more than that. Yeah, it'd be more, because there's, I think it's 8 perks, 6 perks, so it's more than 10% per perk to drop. So if it's even throughout the board, logically saying, they would have to massively decrease that below 10% to actually make it where less than 1% of people have it. Way less than 1% of people have it. It's really bad. So, I don't understand. Maybe, yeah, combo weighting ain't a thing, but individual weighting is definitely got to be a thing, because they manually type in the percent for each perk to drop, because it's RNG. There has to be a percent there. Even if it's all the exact same percent for all of them, there's still a percent. So all someone has to do is go into the code and change that percent to lower. But if you accidentally did it, well, the only way I can see that happening is if it's, let's say, like 16% or something, right? And when they typed it in the code, they accidentally forgot to put the 16 part, like the 6 part, and only had the 1%. Obviously, it's not exactly that percent. That's just it's just an example percentage. But that's my point. That's the only way I can really see that happening, is they accidentally forgot to put in the extra percent. But the fact is, it's only for specific perks seems a bit odd, because it's the specific perks that we want. It's not random perks. It's not like some shitty perk is included in this. It's only the perks that the community would want. The rest of the perks don't seem to be weighted against you. So that, to me, screams intentional. If it was just random perks or random perk that no one cared about, nobody probably would have noticed. But also, even if they did, nobody would have cared enough, because it's perks that nobody wants anyways. Now, if it had been one of the perks, then yeah, it would have seemed a bit odd, but it wouldn't have been that thing. But it's the fact it's literally the 3 perks that people want most are the most weighted against you. And then also the perks, the couple other perks that are wanted as well but not really craved for, they're also against you. That kind of seems weird, and in fact has been proven for also the seasonal weapons now. That also seems weird. To me, I do say for a fact it is intentional. If it was random perks, it was spread out all over the place, it would definitely look like some sort of bug, accidental miscoding, or code didn't save right. The fact it's specifically the perks that everyone wanted is not logical to me, because it's on all of these weapons, a ton of these weapons, not just a few, 1 or 2. It's all the ones from the dungeon. It's a lot of them, at least for the fucking seasonal ones, if not all of them. I haven't seen all the numbers for the seasonal ones yet, but a lot of the ones that people want are definitely negative as fuck for you getting the perk combos. So to me, that seems a bit odd. That seems very, very odd. Like, I don't mind a slight weighted against. I think it's completely fine if they added a slight weight against you, because people know they're going to want the perks. They know it's going to take a while. Some will get it quickly and then not care either way, so it's fine. But if it's severely weighted against you, it's just completely unfair at that point. It's not RNG. It's like, it's literally gambling always against you odds instead of slightly against you odds, which technically is a whole other thing to talk about and what I mean by that, but that's just American term of service and stuff to talk about that issue. So certain gambling practices can't be allowed, and certain things are considered gambling while others are not, as long as a certain percentage thing. There's a whole thing on that. I don't know all that. I don't know perfectly that info. That info is out of my reach. It's not actually out of my reach. I just don't care enough to read it all. Let's be honest. Yeah, I'm lazy. Okay, let's be honest. So, like, back to the point. It definitely appears it is intentional. Whether it is a majority of Bungie knows about and keeping quiet, or it's only a few people were paid from the higher ups to do this, I don't know. I really don't know. Or maybe just a few individuals in Destiny and Bungie's headquarters wanted. They're like, oh my god, our numbers are down. We're afraid we're going to lose our jobs again. There's going to be another layoff. Let's try to get people to actually play the game. So let's throw this in secretly and hope for the best. And maybe they weighted it a little too hard, and then it became obvious, instead of just slightly weighting it against you. I don't know. There's a lot of options here of potential problems. But in my opinion, it was definitely intentional. This is not something you just do by accident. Okay? It would have been random perks, not specific perks that everyone crave. It's not a couple random perks that are trash. No, weighted specifically the ones you want the most are weighted the hardest against you. That seems sus. And yeah, there's a lot of data to also show that certain ones that are lined up together are also rare. But the specific ones are extremely rare to find together, or the ones that people want in both columns. It's extremely rare. Not just slightly rare or pretty rare, it's extremely rare. To me, that states there is some high weighting going on. Again, I'm no statistic, I'm no genius or anything, but I'm just an average player, and as me, if I see there's a problem here, I understand the community's frustration here, because if they see the problem, I can definitely agree with them. There seems to be some sus shit going on in the background here. And the truth is, Bungie will never admit to that, because that is bad publicity. And yes, they always say bad publicity is good, but in this case, this would force a lot of people not to want to play the game, which is already starting to show effect. A lot of people are like, until Bungie fixes this, we're not going to play the game, which has lowered the numbers even more, which is another problem on its own. So, numbers be dying quicker than we can breathe, as they say. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's all of them, all of Bungie knows about this and they're trying to hide it, if it's specific ones or what, but there is definitely some intentional weighting going on. Either it's a few people just trying to be funny as a prank, few people accidentally did it because they were trying to weight it into general, but they didn't want to do as much and they fucked it up. Or somebody was paid off to do it. I mean, I know conspiracy theories and stuff, I get it, but at the same time, it's just simply logical. Why would it be the specific group of perks that are the most weighted? The other ones appear to be weighted too. Yeah, there is some weighting going on for some of the other combos that are in a straight line from each other. And what I mean are the ones that are side by side. And I agree with that. There is some. But the ones specifically that everyone wants are weighted so hard against you, barely anyone has it, where it's such a low percentage, nobody even recognizes it existed, basically. Nobody believes it exists because it's weighted so hard against you. And there are a few people that have it, obviously, but we did the numbers. They did a whole bunch of testing, did a whole bunch of tracking, and it proved there are some hardcore number problems. I don't understand how this could be a bug. If it was all the perks, like I said, or a majority or a few here and there, yeah. But if it's all the major perks are hardcore against you, and then a few of the other ones are slightly against you, it seems to be a bit of a thing there. I know I'm ranting here, but it seems to be a bit of a problem. Do I think Bungie will fix this? Yes. One way or another, whether it was intentional as a whole by Bungie or it was a select few individuals for whatever reason, whether it's paid off or something else, does not matter. What's simplest facts is they will have to change this. Because now that people know it is a thing, people are now going to hardcore track this constantly. Every season, every few months even, every time new loot comes out, people are going to be overly tracking this. Because people are going to want to know when Bungie does this again. So Bungie has to fix it. They will fix it, and they're going to not do it again, hopefully. They might try to sneak it in here and there, but as a whole, they shouldn't do it again. So, moral of the story, Bungie fucked up. Somebody at Bungie definitely fucked up. I don't think that anyone's going to get fired from it, unless it was intentional, or a cover-up from the higher-ups might get somebody fired just so they don't get exposed. At the same time, that would really risk the thing, because if someone gets fired, then they would really want to come out and admit it. So more than likely, nobody's going to get fired from this. I know I've seen some people talk about that. Somebody's probably going to get fired if it is intentional. I don't see that happening. They could easily play it off as just a bug, which is what they seem to be doing, or a glitch in the system, but there definitely seems to be some intention going on here in the background. Hopefully it is dealt with, hopefully sooner rather than later, because there's a lot of RNG weapon. I've been farming the crap out of these weapons. I haven't made videos on these weapons because I can't get good rolls for any of these weapons. So I really hope, as a whole, Bungie does deal with this problem quicker rather than later, but we'll see. More of the whole video, the whole thing of the video is definitely there was some waiting going on. Definitely it was intentional by somebody at some point. Well, there was just somebody slightly waiting it and fucked it up completely, or someone intentionally completely waited it. I don't know. There was definitely something going on here, because if it was random perks again, it would be a bug, I could agree with, but there's a lot of weighting against the good perks, so can't really agree it's a bug at that point. And I think a lot of people in the community are at that point, and a lot of people seem to be, because from Twitter and other things I've seen, a lot of people definitely seem to be agreeing there's some sort of intention going on. Whether it was completely intentional by everyone, or just a select few, no clue, we'll see. Bungie will probably not tell us fully. When they do discover it, they'll just play it out as a bug and leave it as that. But we'll see either way. Enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment what you think. If you do think it was totally intentional, let me know. If you think it is actually some magical accident, which it could be, like I said, there's always a chance. Very unlikely, but there is a chance. Let me know as well. Y'all have a good day. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment what you think. Y'all have a good day. We out.